A school counselor blows the whistle on a policy that allows staff to keep the gender identity of students a secret from parents. Why she's taking her fight public next. Christina Barton is my guest, an elementary school counselor in the Rochester School District in Minnesota. Thank you, Christina, for joining me, and thank you for your bravery to speak up.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for sharing the story.
I understand you've been a teacher in the district for the last couple of years, but it's a staff meeting you attended where this all came up recently. You were bothered by what you were told. Take us back and explain that.
Yeah, on February 14th of this year, we had a staff meeting, as we do every month, and we had a staff member present about a topic that was very controversial, entitled pronouns. And there, she had asked us to prayerfully consider using them in the classroom and students expressing themselves with those pronouns, and had asked us to watch a video about pronouns where a non-binary lady had basically educated us on what pronouns were and the different types of pronouns and why they're really important to use in gender-affirming care.
So this is the video that you say was shown at the staff meeting. I want to just pause here for a moment so people and parents can listen.
So they, them actually isn't harder to use than any other pronoun out there. People actually do it all the time, every day. Some examples of this would be, which student left their backpack behind? Or my friend might need me to watch their dog next week. And as a non-binary person, I use they, them pronouns. It's what I feel the most comfortable with, and it's what gives me the most euphoria in being referred to as.
So it's the pronoun issue you're sitting through. Then you're presented with some guidelines that look to be created in September that you only find out about in February. And we're going to show that text, but explain what those guidelines specifically state, again, in the Rochester public school system.
Yeah, so at the beginning of the guidelines, Dr. Brickell, our superintendent, stated that he had created a guideline to be implemented until the school board could vote and discuss different ways that they could create the guideline to become policy this school year. However, I had asked the superintendent twice when he was going to meet with the school board to vote on that, and I still have not heard back from him. And I had also spoken to a school board member during the listening session about the date, and she seemed surprised and didn't know how to respond to that question. So that rose a red flag to me that this was something that they are trying to hide from the public, and that they're going to possibly just slip it right in without the feedback from the community and without informing parents. There's different parts within the guideline that talk about, it talks about pronoun language usage, it talks about gender, like affirming activities, it talks about bathroom usage, and this really presents a safety risk for our students. And for the fact that parents don't know, they can't proactively protect their children from something that could potentially happen during one of these gender affirming activities, or even know about the pronouns that are being asked about during the school year. So there's a lot of deception that's happening, and parents can't request those records if they don't even know that it exists. And that is primarily the reason why I'm bringing this forward, because in our district, we talk about family engagement, we talk about transparency and how important that is, but yet they're unwilling to do that with this specific guideline.
Some parent groups have been pushing this issue out there. One concerned parent had this to say on the policy. Quote, I am convinced that having school staff actively work against our wishes contributed to a great degree to our daughter's gender dysphoria and anxiety and led her to increase her self-harming behaviors. School staff have no right to counsel kids with complex physical and mental health histories that they know nothing about and do not have any real training on how to handle. School staff should know that their radical sexual ideologies being aggressively pushed on impressionable students is causing confusion, mental distress, and family discord. Now, the Rochester School District sent Alpha News this statement when we did ask about the policy. It says, the guidance was developed and shared with principals to provide them with information on settled legal precedents and how school district policy is to be implemented in our schools today regarding issues of gender identity. And I know you've looked into this a great deal. Also, the Upper Midwest Law Center has weighed in about FOIA laws that allow school districts to withhold information from parents on their kids. And there's no consideration of parents' rights. This is a constitutional problem in Minnesota, as the Upper Midwest Law Center points out. But you have more information on this involving federal law that plays a role here, Christina.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Upper Midwest did say that it's a constitutional law, and they referred to parents' rights not being considered. And that's fundamentally the reason why, as a school counselor, I am not only an advocate for students, but I'm also an advocate for parents and standing up for truth, even if it comes at a cost, because our children are very important and they are our next generation. And our parents have the fundamental right to be that guiding voice in a child's life, and to be shoved to the side and not be informed of the guidelines or the curricula that's happening, or to consent to it, or not even have the opportunity to opt out is very concerning. So the Constitution says that we have the right to our First Amendment and our 14th Amendment, as well as our right to request educational records according to FERPA. And then the Hatch Amendment, also known as the People Protection Rights Act, that protects parents, and it protects their ability to instill those beliefs and values. It protects their ability to be informed and to consent to various subject matter, including sexual orientation and gender identity. And so it's very concerning that a school policy or school guideline could supersede those constitutional rights, and it really should be the opposite way.
You mentioned, Christina, that you spoke recently at a school board meeting. What kind of reaction have you been getting from colleagues, from parents? Do people support your efforts, and why has this become so important for you to keep pushing forward?
Yeah, I felt the need to practice what I preach as both a mama and as a school counselor. I am oftentimes teaching my son and students that standing for truth and integrity are the principles that matter most in life. And if you don't have those, then nothing else matters. And even if that means standing up, even when it's unpopular or when it comes at a cost, that is what we need in this country, is to stand up for what is truth, what is right. And even if there are major ramifications, as this guideline clearly says, that if staff are held in noncompliance, we will face disciplinary action up to termination. And that actually gives me the opposite feeling. Instead of being muzzled and intimidated and being bullied into being censored, it makes me want to stand up even more. And their lack of response makes me question what their underlying motive is. And if someone else isn't going to speak up, then I will speak up on behalf of our parents, on behalf of our staff, and behalf of our students, so that way they can have a fair shot to feel empowered and exercise those constitutional rights that they have.
I think from what I've seen, it seems there is a lot of support, and people are thanking you for blowing the whistle here, because so many parents just really had no idea.
Absolutely. They don't have any idea. And that is exactly why I am standing up and I'm trying to get the word out. And that's why I so much appreciate this opportunity to tell my story so that way we can make parents informed and we can help them feel empowered to exercise those constitutional rights and protect their children as they seem fit. So I really feel like if we don't stand up on these principles, then our children are going to be exposed to things that could be very damaging for them as they are impressionable and still developing.
There's a petition now that parents can sign to send a message to Rochester's superintendent. We are going to put a link in the story. What are you hoping to accomplish with that and with all of this?
Yeah, so we've had some wonderful people working really, really hard on a petition. The group is called Strengthen Rochester Schools, and you can find this petition on www.mn535.org. And the objective of the petition is to ask for parents and the community's voice to be invited into these discussions before these guidelines are created or before they become into policy, for there to be transparency and in trust between the district and the community, and for parents to finally be heard, and in an effort that the board does end up meeting, even though we don't know when that date is, that they can use this feedback and they can consider the voice of the parent and the voice of the community, because they are taxpayers who do elect these elected officials on the school board. And I think it's really important that people understand their voice matters. And when we use our voices as a united front and fight in solidarity, it really does make a big impact for the future.
Absolutely. So again, facing termination if you don't follow this policy. However, brave woman here coming forward to blow the whistle through all of this. I know the district is watching you closely by the sound of things. So we'll continue to follow your story and your efforts. But again, Christina Barton, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Liz.
That'll do it for this episode of Liz Collin Reports. We'll see you next time.